Good morning, everybody. My name is Jason Flame, host of the Master Motivation Podcast. Welcome to another amazing edition of some awesome leaders and athletes and healthcare professionals. And all the guests that we've had on this show have been super awesome to provide motivation, inspiration, and education. And without further ado, today's guest is the definition of high performance. Matt Miguelena is a seasoned physical therapist, exercise physiologist, and a CEO with over 3 decades of experience helping people reclaim strength, mobility, and confidence. As the leader of allied healthcare professionals, Matt is redefining what compassionate, innovative care looks like in the home setting. Beyond the clinic, he's an ultra-endurance athlete who's conquered multi-day stage races on 6 continents and completed an incredible 77 months. Add in being a devoted father of 3, and this conversation will be packed with lessons of resilience, leadership, and unlocking human potential. So, Matt, thanks for being on. Thanks for agreeing to chat with me for an hour.
Okay, good. Thank you. That was quite an intro. I hope I can live up to that.
I think that you will, and you will exceed it. We go back. Our relationship kind of stems more recently with being members of the Moore Park Morning Rotary Club, Moore Park residents. But going back a ways, our kids went to school at Pinecrest, and that's where we very first met.
A long time ago.
It does. It seems like a lifetime ago. Nah, we're not getting old. We're just getting better, man. We're just getting better.
I agree. Yeah, definitely.
But what really intrigued me and wanted me to have you on this podcast is not only are you a healthcare professional, and we've talked a lot, through Jackie's journey and just different things, but also these races, man, and the things that you do and the countries that you visit. It's super inspiring. I know that you keep bugging me to try to get me on one, and I'm gonna do something. Do something, but I can't wait to kind of talk about this a little bit and let everybody else hear some of the stories that I've heard and that have inspired me. So let's just jump in right away and talk about it. You spent more than 30 years helping people recover strength and mobility. What originally drew you into physical therapy and exercise physiology? And what has kept you passionate all of these years?
I was way back in the day, I was working in construction and had a little accident, and I had to go have physical therapy for some injuries that I received. And it just intrigued me that, I came from the blue collar world where we don't usually say nice things like please and thank you when we're on the job site. We're just getting it done, right? And there's a whole different world out there where people were helping other people and they were polite. You get a little lab coat with your name on it. I thought that was kind of interesting. So that's kind of what sparked my interest. And then I decided to take a job as a physical therapy aide, which requires literally no experience. And so during my job interview, my first job interview as an aide in Glendale, California, the guy that's interviewing me says, "Boy, you sure have a lot of experience at construction, but what do you know about physical therapy?" And I said, "I don't know anything about it, but I guarantee you I could work harder than all you guys put together." And he hired me. That's literally what I said to him. And he's like, "You're hired. When can you start?" And that was
right.
It. What a minute of it.
What a unique perspective and attitude that not very many people share. And, you and I, it was something that I came to understand and know more about you because I come from the same background. My dad was a builder for, almost 60 years. And so I was around the job sites. I know what that was like, but I will tell you that, that's where my work ethic came from. Your whole thing of, man, I'll work harder than all 5 of you put together. And that's how my dad was. He could work harder than anybody else and faster than anybody else. And just no matter what the challenge was, you just overcome it. And I think that has, stretched into different areas of your life as well.
That groundwork that's laid at a young age when you see your father, like my father, work hard and literally knows how to do everything because you have to, you grow up with limited funds. And you literally have to learn how to do everything. And that never leaves you if you're smart. You hang on to those lessons. Absolutely.
Well, I got to say, I grew up around the job site, and I'm a little embarrassed to admit that there are things like even hanging a picture on a wall that I just don't ever want to do. Like I was on the job site so much. My first job was picking up nails through all the
Yeah,
sawdust. That was like the first thing.
that's how you
Maybe
start.
10
Yeah,
years old or less. Then it was okay. Now you get to sweep the floor,
yeah,
and then you're digging ditches. That was a good time. But I learned a lot of things, and I learned how to work through things. But man, I don't put a hammer in my hand anymore. Like I would much rather have. I'm too much of a perfectionist anyway, so I'd rather have someone else do it
right.
anyway. Um, but as a CEO of a full service home health agency, how do you balance the clinical excellence with leadership and business growth, especially in a healthcare system that's constantly changing?
Yeah, that's the rub right there. So right now we're in a really horrible position in our country with providing health care that actually is health care and not capitalization. And more, it's all about big business and big corporations coming in and trying to hollow everything out. And the care has left healthcare. And you probably have seen a lot of this in your recent journeys in healthcare. There's not a lot of people that actually care anymore, and it's all about making profits. And all of us in healthcare are struggling to get proper reimbursements for our work. And so as it changes, we have to adapt our techniques, and we have to be very, very smart about how we approach doing healthcare. All the while, we still really do care about what we're doing. We take every patient as if they're our own family, and that's kind of rare these days. People just don't do that anymore. And so
Mm-hmm.
we'll do as long as we can. I've recently met with some of our local lawmakers and talked to them about some of the unscrupulous practices of these insurance companies who just decide, well, we just don't feel like paying you, and they make us chase our money that we've earned. That's
Mm-hmm.
right. And if anybody that works for an insurance company is listening to your podcast, I will just tell you straight to your face, you guys suck. I'm sorry, but they absolutely are doing it because they know there's nothing I can do about it. I have to
Right.
take legal action against them. I mean, who has the pockets for that? So we
Right.
do the best we can with the tools that we have, but we're not going to let go of that idea that we're still trying to help other human beings. And that's what we do really, really well at Allied Healthcare.
Well, I want to dig into that just a little bit deeper, but I do have to say, with Jackie's care at UCLA, we had the absolute best care. We must have hit the lottery on that one because everybody there was amazing when it came to health care and
Well,
taking care of her needs. Right.
yeah,
So
the
so
actual people providing the healthcare aren't the problem. It's the
right.
payors, the people that actually pay you to do your work. And
Mhm.
healthcare workers are amazing people. I've worked around them my whole career. It's never those folks. It's generally the structure or the entity that's telling us how to do our job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so what I wanted to get at is, yeah, I mean, there's still compassionate people out there that are
Mhm.
doing great, great work.
100%.
Um, you haven't really said it yet, but I mean, it's all about the money, right? I
It
mean,
is.
the insurance
Yeah.
companies and the healthcare system. I mean, I've learned a lot about, cancer treatment and more than I ever want to know. And we've got all these vaccinations, and then we've got all of these cures for everything else.
Mm.
And it's hard not to think that if they gave us the cure, gave us the answer, that they wouldn't make any money. It's hard not to think that.
100%. It's easier just to go to your doctor and they manage your care through chemistry. They would rather give you drugs than talk about the actual problems because if you get healthy, they don't have a revenue source. That's absolutely true. 100%.
So tell me some of you mentioned, the challenge of just getting paid for your services, but what are some of the other challenges that healthcare providers are facing with insurance or otherwise?
Yeah, the biggest thing is the insurance companies will use any excuse they can not to pay you. So our documentation, when we see patients and how we document, has to be pristine. So they'll go through and nitpick anything and say, well, you didn't do this, and we're not going to pay you for the entire case. And I actually this morning before I jumped on the podcast was meeting with one of my staff members and talking to them about how we have to do better and we have to be on top of our game. So there's no excuses not to pay us. That's a big challenge for us. And then in the home health industry, trying to find clinicians that are willing to go to people's homes, because not everybody wants to do that. They want to be inside of a building with walls and get their 8 or 10 hours in. And we do things kind of, we show up at people's houses and we drive from house to house to house, seeing patients. And that's a challenge, trying to find good staff to do that. Because I won't hire you unless you're really good and you want to do it and you're passionate about it. I'll interview you, but if you don't have that fire, then it's down the road. You can work somewhere else. Not bad people, but I'm looking for that special attitude toward other human beings.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and that leads us kind of into the next question and topic is that, you work with patients in their most vulnerable moments. What's something you've learned about human resilience from seeing people recover in their own homes?
I will tell you this straight up. The older generation, and I mean in their 80s and 90s, are just tough people. I read through some of their medical history. I'm like, there's no way they should be on the planet right now. And they just like, oh yeah, it hurts a little bit once in a while, and they're just tough. And I think it's because back when they were growing up, they didn't have the opportunity to whine and fuss about everything. They just had to get it done. There was nobody's going to listen to you anyway. They can't curl up in a ball and rock back and forth in the fetal position until somebody gives them a hug and says, hey, it's going to be okay. They just have to get. And I think that makes really resilient human beings, because as they face challenges going forward, they're not used to anybody coddling them. They're just like, I got to get it done.
Yeah, 100%. I want to go back. Actually, it was funny because I was thinking of what you were saying about paperwork and keeping strict records. I spent some time with my brothers and my father, who has some home health care right now. He's in hospice. And but talking to my brother about construction, and you were talking about keeping perfect, pristine records, and he was just telling me he deals with the same thing in construction. He's got people that don't necessarily want to pay him sometimes, or they don't know they owe what they owe, and he's like, I have to keep perfect, pristine records to be like, look, here. And then he's had issues where people have attempted to steal from him, and finds out that there's a family member that was buying things on the account that wasn't, what I mean. And so so it was just kind of a parallel there. But you talk about the resiliency of the older generation. My dad is 70. See, I'm 52, 73. And dude, the guy he's been going through chemo and all kinds of different stuff, and he's still wanting to go out and work in the garage and go out in the back. And we're like, Dad, you gotta take a little down, take it easy. No, gotta do it. It's gotta get done. And it's like, we'll take care of it. But that's exactly what you're talking about, that resilience of that generation.
There's no quitting there. There's no stopping.
None. Yeah. Zero. Yeah. Absolutely.
I love that. When I go see patients, I mean, I'm not just a CEO and sit with my feet on the desk. I would rather be out seeing patients because I feel like I can deliver that healthcare that they deserve. So I like going out to see patients. And sometimes, like, I was just with the guy the other day, and he's 98 years old and he lives all by himself. And he was trying to change the filter on the HVAC system. Where's the filter? I'll go do it for you.
Dude. Jeez. Yeah, that's. But you know what? They want to keep moving because they've always been moving, right? And so that's kind of a mental therapy, if anything else, because sitting down or laying in a bed all day is not mentally.
When I talk to my staff and other, I take interns in physical therapy. I said, the minute we stop being upright, vertical against gravity and moving, when we go horizontal, you're on your way out. You got to be upright moving. And I think they just know that intrinsically. They're just like, I can't stop or I'm going to die. And that's kind of true, actually.
Yeah, it was one of the things when I saw my parents last night. I just got back home yesterday. I asked my mom, I said, hey, when the healthcare team comes, like, see if they can get him up and take him for a walk outside. He loves to be outside and see this, get some sunlight, just kind of get moving, no matter how slow or how far or how long, like, a little bit every day, I think goes a long way.
Big difference. And sitting in the sun, I had the I guess the good fortune to work with a lady who I've known for many, many years. She's been a repeat customer for us, and she was on her way to the other side. And about 3 weeks before we took her off service, I got her up in a chair and took her outside so she could get sun on her face. And that was the last time she was able to do that. But I wanted to do that for her because I knew the light was getting a little dim, if you know what I mean.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about some of these ultra endurance races, right? Your achievements,
AKA the crazy stuff.
the crazy stuff, right? You've had some incredible achievements. What first pushed you towards extreme endurance events, and how did your mindset shift once you entered that world?
Well, it's funny because I remember exactly. I was on a ferry boat ride over to Catalina to do a 50-kilometer race or a marathon. I forget something. And I was talking to a friend of mine who had just done this stage race in Spain, where my family's from. And I was like, well, that sounds cool. And he goes, the best part was you get to eat really good food along the way. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. When do we do this? And it was sort of a joke. But the next week I messaged the race director and he's like, yeah, you should sign up. We're going to do it. And I'm like, okay. I didn't even know what I was getting into, but I did. And this one was, it was 6 days long, and it was in the north part of Spain in Burgos. And it was 250 kilometers and day after day. And it was brutal. But along the way, they had actual chefs that were preparing food for us. So besides the running, there was gastronomy of the local area. And then I met these crazy guys from Europe who drink beer in pubs along the way as they're racing. And it actually, it works. I mean, it was really good. That was my first intro to do it. I finished the race, made a lot of new friends, and thought, I think I want to try that again sometime. And so I kept going. Yeah.
So your first one was, you said a 50K. Very first one was
the first time I heard about this stage racing. I was on my way to run a 50K in Catalina Island, and a friend of mine, Peter, if you're listening, he was a fantastic human being, was sharing his experience with me.
Okay.
And so I signed up to do the race, and he was going to do it with me as well. And he'd already done it the year before. So that was my first for a stage race.
Okay.
And then I found out about a company called Global Limits. And the race director for Global Limits is a genius. Stefan, if you're listening, I love you, man. He does these amazing races all over the planet. And he usually tries to incorporate UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So we're racing in these places that have a huge amount of history and culture. And it's not just about the racing. It's about the adventure and the discovery of all this stuff when you go.
So prior to getting started, what was your activity level and what was most people think I'm going to go run a 5K and that'll be fun. You know what I mean? Or maybe I'll do a half marathon. That's like the average person may think that's like the ultimate achievement. Yeah. What were you doing prior to doing these ultra endurance?
I spent a lot of time in my younger years trying to become a professional triathlete. I never made it. I just didn't have the VO2 max, the genetic code to be at that level. But I loved all of it, and I was doing lots of triathlons, and I was trying to do marathons when I could. And so that was my level. I was, pretty fit and all that. I was also raising 3 kids. So I took some time out and spent lots of time with my kids and enjoyed all of that growing up stuff and going to all the school stuff. And I wasn't such a hardcore endurance athlete until they got to be a little bit older. I started ramping up the program basically and looking at things that I thought, well, that's kind of crazy. I wonder if I can do that.
Yeah. So for the average person that doesn't know what a triathlon is, explain the 3 phases and also the distances that you were doing.
Okay. So it's swim, bike, run. You swim, then you get out of the water, you get on the bike, do a distance, and then you run. And obviously everybody's heard of the Ironman, which is the ultimate. You swim 2.4 miles, you bike 106 miles or 112 miles, and you run a marathon. I mean, that's kind of nuts. I've only done that a couple of times. That's an incredible amount of training. And, but I really like the shorter distance triathlons, like the half Ironman, or my favorite, which is I still do to this day, is Olympic distance, which is about a mile swim, and then you do about 24.5 miles on the bike, a 40K bike, and then you do a 10K run. So it's not that incredibly hard. It's just putting those all together. The difference between getting out of the water and getting on a bike, you've had all this upper body stuff going on, then you get on the bike and you start hammering, and then you get off the bike and you have concrete legs and you're trying to run. And I really like that physical challenge. I just did my 77th one in December of last year. And just so everybody knows, I don't want you to think like I'm going out and doing all this amazing stuff. I don't pay those fees anymore to do the official races, because when I started doing triathlons, we'd pay like $45-50 and we might get a t-shirt or something back in the 90s. And now, I mean, even the smaller races are $150-200. And it's, I just designed my own course. There's nothing closed off. I'm riding in traffic, but I do it for me. I don't get a medal or anything, and I don't really care. I just do it because I'm going to challenge myself.
Hey, real quick, I'm going to throw this on here because you did mention his name. Stefan is listening and watching. So if you've got anything to say, let him know.
He is the genius behind Global Limits, and I will be going to Africa in a couple of weeks to be on a medical team looking after some athletes. There's a race in Sao Tome, Africa that I've done a couple times. And so I'm not racing this time. I get to watch everybody suffer and hopefully help them with some of their injuries and tell them to shut up and quit whining and get back out on the race course.
Nice. Thanks for Stefan. Thank you for watching. Thanks for your comment. Yeah. My only experience with a triathlon is the Nautica triathlon in Malibu. I did the sprint, so I didn't do the regular distance.
Yeah.
And, at that time, first of all, it's a 5K run. It was like 18 miles on the bike or something. And I think a half mile swim.
You just go up to Leo Carrillo and come back, right, on the bike?
Right. So, I did not, dude. I didn't train in open water. I trained in a pool and thought that was going to help me out.
Ball game, man.
Not even close. But I will tell you that I never felt close to dying as I did swimming in the ocean. Because what people don't know is that, like, when the sound goes off and you're jumping in the water, everybody's trying to get their start. And I mean, you're getting smacked, you're getting hit, you're getting drug underwater. And so I was like, I'm just going to kind of like fade back to the back and have my own lane. By the time halfway through, I literally had to grab one of the buoys and lay on my back for a minute because I couldn't breathe.
You were just hyperventilating. That's normal.
It was crazy, but the adrenaline rush, like as you're doing it, then you get out of the water and, like you said, you get on the bike and you're like, okay, cool, like you get going, but then you start to run and your legs just feel like you've got concrete blocks at the bottom of your feet. But fortunately, I did the short run, and I had been training. I had just come off doing a Ragnar. I was doing a lot of Spartan races at the time. I loved the Beast because it was the longest distance and the most obstacles. I love the obstacles, super fun. But above and beyond a half marathon, I have not broken that plane yet. Somehow I feel Matt Miguelena is going to get me out of that comfort zone.
Your wife told me that I'm not allowed to talk to you about that.
Well, and I'll tell you why, because she knows how crazy I am when I decide that I'm going to do something, because I'm just that type of person that if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it full tilt. I can't do it halfway. And I would rather not do it if I don't do it that way. You know what I mean? It's like, I just don't want to.
All in or nothing. Yeah.
That's 100%.
Well, Stefan's listening. Maybe he'll give you a discount if you sign up for one of his races. I'll talk to him about that.
Maybe. So what was your motivation early on? I mean, was it just staying healthy, being active, doing those first triathlons? I know your kids also, at least one of your children ran track, right? And you ran track, am I right?
Yeah. Well, I was really horrible at track, to be honest with you. Believe it or not, for a 5'9" white guy, I played varsity basketball. I was pretty good at basketball in high school.
Just got to be able to move.
That was into my career after that. But I think the triathlon for me was the way that I got into triathlon is I got my first degree in exercise phys, and I was training some younger guys. And then they introduced me to some older guys who were going to be doing a triathlon, and they hired me to be their coach. And I had never done one, but I said, I know how to get you there physiologically. But these guys like to talk a lot of junk. And I said, you know what, you guys, I might just jump in there and do the triathlon with you and beat you. And they laughed. That's really funny. So I did. I lost my 3 clients because after I beat them, we did my first triathlon ever was the Wildflower Half Ironman. and I smoked those guys, and they did,
Nice.
and their egos would not let them, live that down. And I thought, well, that was kind of fun. I mean, it was hard. It was the hardest thing I'd done physically, but it kind of got me interested. And I didn't even own a bike. I had to borrow a bike to do this thing. And so then I started investing in the gear, and then I started getting lasered up, man. I was like, I'm going to do this. I got a couple of top 10 finishes, but that was about as close as I got.
Yeah, nice, very nice. It's so funny. I didn't borrow a bike, but I used a mountain bike on my triathlon. That
Oh
was
my
terrible.
gosh.
Yeah, it was awful.
I remember when they were doing that. I did the first 2 years of that triathlon. Then I opted out because they turned it into some celebrity fest with all the VIP people. And
Mhm.
that's just not me. I think everybody's VIP, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, well, speaking of celebrities and stuff, we've had this conversation before, and I've read his books, and I told you that I read his books, and you had your own thoughts.
Yeah.
David Goggins is someone that people, when you talk about ultra endurance races, kind of one of the names that pops up.
Yeah.
And then when you're talking about podcasts and people that are interviewed, David Goggins, and you
He's
got.
Yeah, I look at it two ways. As a physical therapist, I always look at limiting your injuries if you're racing through pain or whatever you're doing, and you do have to have a little bit of higher executive functioning and know, like, hey, I might need to slow down or I might need to stop so there's no permanent damage. And I don't think he's really good at getting that message across, but I will tell you this. He's amazing at getting thousands and thousands of people motivated to do something. And I love that about him, because he literally, people that I know, they always ask me about him. And I'm like, he's a great motivator, but you always have to take that with a grain of salt when it comes to pushing through injury. He's a Navy SEAL. So those guys, I've known a couple of those guys, they are absolutely different than the rest of us in a lot of different ways. And they can push through all that. Your average, 58-year-old guy that runs a company, I'm not going to run on a broken leg. I'm sorry. I'm going to tap. But for that reason, I love the fact that he's able to reach millions of people and motivate people to do things that they otherwise probably would never do. So I give him a lot of credit for that. That's amazing. Definitely.
I would absolutely agree with that portion of it, but also on the other hand, talking about, sometimes a book is written or a podcast guest comes on and they talk about all their achievements and everything they've done. And, for the average person that goes out there and, like, if they want to do a couch to 5K, you're not going from couch to half marathon. You're not even going couch to 10K, and putting yourself, people don't understand how important, recovery is, and really taking care of your body for the long term. Because, there's some stuff, even weightlifters, bodybuilders, and they do all these things to get their body in a certain shape or a certain size. And what happens 10, 15, 20 years down the line? What's the long-term effects of that?
Right.
Is it worth worth the sometimes the ego bump to, I did all these things, and then, like, who is it? I think it's Ronnie Coleman, right? I mean, amazing, right? But what's his body looking and feeling like in his older age? Right. And that's kind of rough. I mean, I've seen a lot of martial artists. Almost every single one of my friends has had, knee surgery or hip surgery or something like that. And it's like, you start thinking about things like that, about how to be active, how to push yourself, how to challenge yourself, but at the same time, not ruin yourself. You know what I'm saying? And especially for you see this all the time.
I see it a lot. And as a physical therapist, I have that unique insight to know when, personally, I've been through, I can't even describe to you some of the houses of pain I've been in during some of these events. And I know when to back it down a notch. And recently we just did a race through Global Limits. It's the first of its kind. It was in the Balkans mountain range. So we went from Albania to Kosovo to Montenegro and back to the starting village. And we had something like 40,000 feet of elevation gain. So we're going up and down mountains all day. And if you didn't train for that, coming down the mountain's actually harder physically on your body. The eccentric control that your body has to have to limit your descent is very, very hard. It builds strength. But in a race like that, I saw a lot of broken bodies, and people asked me, how do you do that without being injured? And I said, well, I run until I can't. And then I walk. I have no ego about walking. I honestly don't even know what place I came in that race. I don't look because I don't care. I'm there for the adventure and I love being in the mountains. That was a beautiful race. We were in the mountains all day long, every day. But I talked to some of my friends that were there. I talked to two of my local friends here from California to go with me, mountaineers, guys that I do mountaineering with. And one of them finished 10th and the other one finished 11th. They're really strong guys. I looked at their numbers. I'm like, you guys need to come do this race. I crunched their data. And I'm like, you guys have the physiology for this race. But they both got injured in a little bit because of just going hard the whole week. They went hard. And me, I'm like, when my body tells me to walk up that incline or walk down that descent, I do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't even get a blister. I didn't feel sore at all during the race. I just kind of stay within my lane, so to speak, for the longevity.
Yeah, I want to get to that in just a second, but I'm going to give a quick shout out to Dana Abbott. Thanks for always watching. Dana Abbott was an awesome guest on the Master Motivation podcast. Go check out his episode. And by the way, if you're watching this live, make sure you're commenting. Let us know you're here. Like, share, again, comment. And also go to Master Motivation Podcast on YouTube. And please subscribe. I'm getting awfully close to 700 subscribers. I would love to break that number today. So help me out, please. But, you've completed multi-day stage races on 6 continents, 75 triathlons. What has been your toughest moment physically or mentally, and how did you push through it?
Oh, that's an easy one. Global Limits Cambodia 2022. That's the longest running Global Limits race. They hold it that time of year every year because it's supposed to be the dry season. Well, the year that I did it was not the dry season. And it was, the rain was so bad. Even right before the race started, Stefan had sent guys out to move the markers that were now underwater. So we like 150 meters into the race, we were knee deep in water, and it was like that all week. And so you can imagine, if you've ever spent time in a hot tub or whatever, how your fingers pucker up. So imagine the bottom of your feet getting puckered up and you're running on it. It just emascerates your skin. Wow. And talking to the race doctor, Ryan Patterson, this guy kept a lot of us in the race. Shout out to Ryan. He kept a lot of us from getting infections. I mean, I had a hole in my foot the size of a quarter down to the raw meat. And the whole point was there's an award you get for completing a series of these global limit races. It's called the Heritage Site Runners Award. And this was the last race that I needed to get that. And that was my goal. And so I finished day 5 in absolute agony. Like, I'm running on basically raw meat on the bottom of my foot. And I kept telling the race doctor, as long as I'm not getting an infection, I'm going to stuff it in my shoe and keep going. And so after the 5th day, we got 1 day left to finish at the Angkor Wat Temple site, which is an amazing UNESCO World Heritage Site. And Stefan says, what do you think about tomorrow? And I said, go get your etching pen and put my name on that award. I'm this close. I'm not coming back to Cambodia. It was the hardest thing physically because of the pain. And that, again, I had to weigh the option. Is it just pain, or am I going to get an infection?
Right.
And we had a lot of people ended up having to be pulled out of the race because of infection. And Dr. Ryan and I worked on my feet every night and soaked it and stuffed all kinds of stuff in there to keep the mud and gunk out. And I finished it and I got the award. Not going back to Cambodia.
Never again, right?
That was physically and mentally, I just had to talk myself through it literally mile after mile I think I ran like 70 miles on that foot like that.
Wow.
Yeah. I can laugh about it now, but it took 2 weeks to walk right after that.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Dana is, I guess, maybe asking, he ran with the Hash House Harriers in Southeast Asia. Have you heard of this? Do you know what this is?
I have not heard of that. No.
Tell us more, Dana. I'm not sure the distance or what this was, but let us know. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for watching. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Because when you're doing something like that, like you're talking 1 mile at a time. I mean, for some people, walking a mile, at all is rough. But here we go. So Dana,
I got
Dana
to
says,
the point where I was in so much pain, I just started running because I thought it doesn't matter if I'm walking or running; it just hurts. and then I would just run until I literally thought my foot was going to fall off. And then I would, yeah,
Wow.
you have to just push through it. That's the only
Yeah,
way to say it. Yeah.
absolutely. Dana says it's a drinking club with a running problem, but the
Okay.
jungle runs were fun.
I'm in on that. Yeah.
What's they say? Hardcore runners started by the SAS in the 1930s.
Okay.
Pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. Yeah.
I'm all about finding beer in every country I go to. And we did a race April last year in Uzbekistan, another amazing place to be. And on the long day, I think the long day was somewhere like 40 or 42 miles. I don't remember. And about 26 or 27, we came alongside a village, and I guess there was a little store there. And I went in to the store, and one of my friends was already there. He was ahead of me in the race, and it was hot, and he was laying in there eating an ice cream bar, and he goes, "Dude, they got beer." Right there in mile 26, I drank a Sarblast Uzbeki beer and soldiered on.
Nice.
Yeah. Hey,
Nice.
beer is the universal language, man.
I haven't had a beer in a year and a half. It kind of triggers a reaction that I don't need to go into discuss, but
Okay.
unfortunately, I haven't been drinking beer in a long time. I do miss it just about
We can
this
fix
much.
that.
We can fix it. He's got something to fix it.
You come and do a race with me, I guarantee you, sir. We will have one. And
How did
I always bring beer from Integrins, and I give it to Stefan at these races.
There you go. There you go. Very cool. How does your background in physical therapy influence the way you train, recover, and avoid injury compared to the average endurance athlete? We touched on this a little bit, but give us a little more detail
100%.
there.
I'm constantly listening to my body when I'm training, and I tell a lot of people that I do personal training with clients, and I tell my clients, look, I want to give you a schedule. These things are movable, so you might have a long run plan for Thursday, and you get up that morning, you feel like crap. Move it to Friday or Saturday. Get it in during the week, but listen to your body. Rest when you need to rest. And I always build a little margin in on those programs because inevitably everybody's different. So you have to listen to your body, and it's better to rest than to push yourself. And I always say it's better to come into a race, 20% undertrained than 5% overtrained, because you will fall apart. In a stage race, 6 days, 7 days, I did one in Nepal that was 9 days, because we had to do acclimation hikes because it was at elevation. And you have to think in terms of dosing your effort over those days. You can't just go up. I mean, unless you're an elite athlete, I'm just an age group guy. I'm just a regular dad with kids and run a business. I'm not an elite athlete. I have to think about managing possible injuries. So you have to dose your effort, and you have to listen to your body. And that's why I say when I'm running and I'm just done, I walk until I feel like running again. Then I run. And I might catch you on the last day of the race because I feel good the last day.
Yeah. I've never been really good at resting or recovering until the last maybe like 10 years. Like as a younger athlete, like all I ever thought was, okay, I don't care how I feel today. I'm just going to get up and go train. Sometimes that worked out okay, and sometimes not so much. But now, like I'm wearing the Aura ring, right? I just got this Aura ring, and so I'm tracking my sleep and I'm tracking my recovery, and I actually find myself, just for the simple fact of I'm tracking it, I think I'm going to go to bed a little earlier tonight, or I think. Yeah. Maybe I'm going to take the day off the gym today, and it's okay because I look at I look at the numbers, and I'm like, the numbers say, hey, I slept really well today. My readiness is solid. Like I'm good to go. If it's starting to dip, like maybe it is okay. Cause so that goes back to your being less prepared than being overtrained is okay.
So, when we're in our early to mid 30s is when we're at our peak for skeletal muscle strength and endurance. Women come along a little bit later. That's why they're much better endurance athletes in their late 40s, early 50s. And we do have to look at that kind of stuff. And I'm a data guy. I crunch numbers all the time, and I look at data. And I'm like, you have to understand the science of the body, and you have to understand about recovery. Like when you're 30, you run a marathon, the next day you're fresh as a daisy, right? When you're 55, you still might be in good shape and you can run a marathon the next day, but you ran a marathon.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
these stage races, we average in some of these things, we're averaging almost a marathon a day. And
Wow.
so we're putting in some big miles. And so that's why I say you have to dose your effort. You have to think in the middle of that stage that day, what am I going to feel like tomorrow? And I always save it. I always save it up for the last day or so. Like I want to finish the last day, like our last race in the Balkans. I was with my two boys from here in Cali. And one of them says to me, because we stagger the day, so we all finish about the same time. So we have a starting group that goes out real early. Then I was in the middle group. I go about 45 minutes later. Then the fast guys go out 45 minutes after me. And so my buddy Pedro says, "Do you think we're going to catch you?" And I said, "No, catch me, something's wrong. What do you mean you're going to catch me? I'm going full gas today. I feel great." And so later we were talking about that. I'm like, I saved up all my good stuff for the last day, man. No one's catching me today. So
what's your longest distance that you've run?
I think around 100 kilometers, about 67 miles, something like that. I'd have to go back and look at my.
And that was over the course of.
That was a day. It was in a day.
In a day. Yeah.
Well, that's compared to some of the people I know, they're like, "Really? That's all you did?" But
that's
it was
insane.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't even a race. It was just something we were doing, trying to train, and it just turned into something else. So, yeah. My friends are a little nutty, which I enjoy.
You got some good friends. Sounds like there's a lot of overlap between endurance sports, and leadership. What lessons from racing have directly shaped how you lead teams and make decisions as a CEO?
Yeah, great question. I'd say a couple of things. One is, as a leader, sometimes whether if you're right or wrong, you have to make a decision and you stand by that decision. There's no, I'm not going to go back and try to second guess. Yes, I've been wrong a million times. I don't go back and kick myself. I made the best decision I could at the time. I'm going to live with it, right or wrong. That's how it goes, right? Mm-hmm. And the other thing is confidence. I worked recently with one of my private clients. I think to this day, he's probably my favorite. He's the CEO of some company in Texas. And he actually did everything that I told him to do in training. And he did amazing. But what he told me later, when we were out having drinks later, he said, "You know what I got out of this more than anything? I got a lot more confidence in myself. Like I can walk into a meeting, negotiating things, whatever. I'm confident I'm going to nail it." And so I think when you set goals like that and you accomplish things physically that you thought maybe were off the table and you nailed it, you're like, you know what, maybe I can do something else. But it also gives you that confidence in yourself as a human being. And that leads to better choices, in my opinion.
I love that. And that's exactly what I see in martial arts training. We see children as young as 3 years old, all the way up to 60, 73 years, and seeing that confidence grow, not just from, what they're doing on the mat, but what they go and do. They get on stage and perform at a high level tournament. They go to school and they're standing up in front of their class and able to give an oral presentation. Or even our adults go on in their careers to, speak their mind a little more freely in a board meeting or whatever it is. But you're 100% right.
Yeah,
that physical confidence translates into every area, or that physical achievement translates into confidence in so many areas of their life. So, I mean,
and I've seen this with just regular folks. We do, I know you know a little bit about my mountaineering that we do here in the local mountains. And we do some pretty hardcore stuff in the mountains. Like, I don't recommend for anybody to do it unless you go with people like us that are safe. And, we take all the appropriate safety steps and we go together and we trust each other and whatever. And I've seen some of my friends come and join the group and stick with us. And over the years, I've just seen them gain so much confidence in themselves and their ability to be out in nature in adverse conditions and not be afraid. They're like, I'm solid. I'm comfortable in this environment. I know my limits. I'm good. I mean, we've done some pretty difficult weather type conditions. And I've seen people that I wouldn't think maybe a year before that, I wouldn't want to share a tent with them.
Right.
So I see that in just everyday folks. And I think that's what I like most is, there's that elite level people out there. And then there's just regular folks like us that are doing things that are beyond what most people do. And I like to see that person. That's when the personal training part, I really pick and choose who I take on as clients.
Hmm. Hmm. Let's talk a little bit more about being a dad, right? You're a father of
My favorite
three.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you model that discipline, health, and perseverance at home while still chasing, all these different adventures?
I'm just old school in the fact that if you need to emulate that yourself, it's not do what I say, not as I do. It's do what I do because I do it this way. And so I think, the best thing I can do as a parent is be that person. Um, no parent's perfect. If your kids are whining that, they don't like your mom and dad did this or whatever. Hey, nobody knows how to be a perfect parent. There's no handbook for being parents. Just do what you feels the best, but try to also live that lifestyle. Like, be kind to other people, be humble, work hard. You have to just live that lifestyle, and that's their barometer of what a good human being should be, right?
Hmm.
So no matter what color we are, religion and politics, just be a good human being. That's it. And then you have to live that lifestyle. You can't just talk about it. You got to be out there doing it. And so my kids ask me lots of questions about the things that I do. And I'm always, let's go out for a hike or let's go for a walk. You can always start somewhere. You don't have to start running a marathon in the mountains. You can just go for a hike.
Hmm.
But
Yeah. And leading into the next portion is, for someone who feels overwhelmed by their health, career, life goals, one small but powerful step they can take today is to start building momentum.
okay, so the lifestyle that we live here in the United States is very convenient, as we know. And we all love Amazon. You push the button and 2 days later, or even a day later, something shows up. And I always tell my kids, it's called the 180 rule, or you call it yin and yang. As convenient and as nice as that is, there's always the opposite of that. That's horrible, right? If you push a button and it shows up at your house, dude. I mean, honestly, that's pretty horrible. It's great, it's cool, but there's a horrible side to that. And that's life in general. Whatever's great and exciting and awesome, you always have to look at the opposite of that and have some accountability and responsibility for the other side of that, right?
Hmm.
So nature, everything that exists in nature is there for a reason because it has a place. So if something exists in nature, there's a reason for it. If there wasn't a reason for it, that plant wouldn't be there, or that animal wouldn't be there, right? So nature's our best teacher. So I always tell people when you're having a little headspace trouble, go for a walk. Don't put your music on. Just go listen to the earth for a little while. You'll be all right.
Nice.
Yeah.
You'd be all right. You'd be all
You'll be
right.
all right. You just walk out there and you see how everything works together. Everything's in harmony out here until people come and screw it up. So don't put your music on. Don't talk to other people. Just go out in nature for a little while. You'll get it. That's how.
It was
That's
one.
how.
It was one of the things that I really enjoyed the most about when I did the Spartan races is just being out. A lot of times you're up kind of on the top of a little mountain ridge or a hill, looking down and looking at the water, looking out across, and
Yeah.
it was always so
A different
peaceful and
energy.
calming. Yeah, definitely a different energy. So
And
I
when
love that.
you were doing the Malibu race, there's something about open ocean swimming. When you're not in a race, if you're just out, like we used to train, we'd do a couple miles out in the open ocean, and there's just something about being part of that whole system.
Hmm.
It's different than a pool, obviously, because it's a live entity. It's moving underneath you, right? So there's something about that energy that's very attractive to me as a person. And most people, if they'll listen properly, they'll feel it.
And it's pretty humbling too, to know that here
Yeah,
you are,
yeah,
this one little small piece
yeah,
of the whole pie,
yeah.
and you're in the ocean and you see in the sky, and yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And everybody has that fear of the unknown because there's
Huh?
animals and you're in the food chain, and it is what it is, but it is kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. Hey, when you look ahead to the next chapter of your life, professional, athletically, personally, what excites you the most, and about what's still to come?
The unknown. I'm always trying to figure out places to go or have another adventure. And, I'm on the computer looking at different parts of the world thinking, would this be a good place to go hiking or trekking for 3 or 4 days? That's what I really like to do with my free time. I don't like to go to fancy hotels and resorts and all that stuff. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just not me. So what I try to do is pick places. And I've recently talked to my kids about exploring Japan. We all like Japanese food, and they all three want to go. So we're kind of thinking about trying to do a little trip to Japan together.
Nice.
Yeah,
Where,
that'd be fun.
That sounds great. That sounds awesome. Well, now, where can people connect with you if people, people are kind of inspired, they want to learn more about,
Yeah.
racing or exercising, or maybe they need some help in the healthcare area. Where can people connect with you?
I guess they could put my name into the Facebook. I'm not really good with social media stuff, but I think you just put it in the search box and my face will pop up, and you can connect with me there, or I could share my email. I guess is it okay with you?
Sure, absolutely. Or,
Okay.
or do you have a website or somewhere else people can
Well,
go?
I have. Okay, so one of the things that I do every year is I do a fundraiser, and I have a website called the bigmig50.com. And we did it for my 50th birthday. I wanted to run 50 miles, and what else would you do, right? And um, and it was supposed to be a one-off, and we raised money, and I forget, we donated to some polio campaign that I was working on in India at the time, and everybody loved it so much that they wanted to do it again. And we're now this year we're going to do it in November of this year. It'll be our 10th year, and we just pick a new charity every year. It's a free event. If you want to donate money, great. If you don't, just come and have fun and enjoy. You don't have to pay anything. We just been doing it year after year. So that's thebigmig50.com is the website. But my email is matt@allied, ALLIED, HCP.com. You can email me, or you can look me up on the Facebook. I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't have a YouTube thing or anything. I'm not, that's just not me. I just do
It's
my
all good.
thing. Yeah.
It's all good.
I do get lots of questions about health and fitness, and especially nutrition, because that's what we're lacking in this country is good quality food.
Yeah.
So hit me up if you want. I mean, it might take me a while to get back to you, but I will.
All right. And of course, if anybody wants to connect with Matt, I can help you do that. Just want to make sure I gave you a chance to plug that. I'm happy we got that, the bigmig50.com, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to do it
go
in
check it out.
November of this year. It'll be our 10th anniversary, and we hold it on a private ranch that's adjacent to some open space, and we have a great time. I have a loyal crew that comes out every year, and we've been doing it and enjoying, and we always raise money. So we give away all of the money. We don't keep any for anything. We give 100% of it away.
Nice. Very nice. Cool. Yeah. Well, Matt, thanks for chatting with me for this little while here today. Yeah, it was super cool. And I hope that everybody watching, we had, Matt, Stefan, or I'm sorry, not Matt, Dana and Stefan watching. And so I appreciate you guys out there on YouTube. Once again, go to YouTube and subscribe to Master Motivation Podcast. And would love to have you guys keep tuning in. We got some great guests coming up. I have Angles Valenzuela coming up. I have Doug Ridley coming up in the next couple of weeks. So take a look at that and go back and take a look at some of the other amazing guests that we've had on the show. It's been awesome having you, Matt. Thanks so much. Yeah. I'll look forward to seeing you at Rotary
next week.
Probably next week. All right. Sounds good. All right, Matt. Thank you so much. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.